Hi everybody, Nico here again. I'm going to do my latest obsession today, which is Portuguese custard tarts, or Pastéis de Nata. It's a bit of a cold, wintry day here in Perth today, so nothing better than these warm, soft, yet crispy custard tarts to sort of warm the cockles, let's say. I'm going to be using the Thermomix, which is fantastic for making the custard, but to make the dough, it takes all of 10 seconds. So let's do this in stages. And the first thing we need to do is make up our pastry that we're then really going to show you the technique of laminating the pastry with plenty of butter to get those beautiful crispy tarts. And so with the Thermomix, what we need is, we'll get to the scales here and we'll just set the scales. We need about 280 grams of some plain flour and a quarter teaspoon of some salt that we popped in there. And to this, we're going to add in 210 mils of some icy cold water. So water out of the fridge. Pop this into here. Like that, thereabouts. And what we want to do is really just bring this together. It's going to be a bit of a sticky dough, but we're just going to knead this for 10 seconds. That's all it needs. Super simple. So we'll just knead that for 10 seconds. And it's this icy cold water and the flour that's going to give you that really nice crispiness that you want with the Portuguese tarts. And unfortunately, there are other recipes out there that substitute just commercial puff pastry for this, but you're just not going to get that authentic Lisbon crunch from the pastry if you use that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this out and onto a nice floured bench. We'll just grab some flour from here, nicely floured bench. We just want to take this out, knead it together for just a short time, just to bring it together, and then we're going to shape it into a 15 centimeter square and let that set aside for about 15 minutes to let the water absorb into that flour, the gluten to sort of develop up a bit, and in that time we're going to make up our custard. So what we'll do is we'll pop that there, add a little bit more flour to my fingers here, and we just want to bring this together. So a really soft, cold dough. Bring this together, and we just want to form it up into a 15 centimeter square, something like that. And set that aside for 15 minutes, and in that time we'll get our custard made up. So we'll pop this over here, cover it up with a little piece of some plastic wrap, and we'll let that have a little rest for a moment. Okay, let me go grab some ingredients for the custard and then we'll get things fired up. While that pastry rests up, we're going to make this custard, and this custard is amazing just on its own. It's a really thin custard, but it's going to thicken up in the Thermomix. But in the time that it takes, the 15 minutes or so for your pastry to rest up, we'll have our custard ready, and then we need to let that cool while we laminate. And so into this, all we need is some eggs, 5 egg yolks. Into the Thermomix, we need 180 grams of some sugar. Pop that into there. We also need 50 grams of some corn flour into there as well. We're going to add in about a teaspoon of some vanilla bean paste or extract. And we need 500 mils of some milk. Pop that into there. Just give that a little bit of a mix up just to get that all combined. So 10 seconds or so. Into there, and then what we need to do is add in some flavorings, and what I've got is some lemon zest, and what I've done is I've just sort of taken a potato peeler and we've just peeled the zest away from the lemon. I want to be able to sort of give the custard for these a suggestion of the lemon. I don't want little bits of lemon zest in there, so I don't want to blitz it up in the Thermomix. So we're just going to pop in the zest from one lemon, a cinnamon stick or a castor quill. I'm going to break that in half. and we're also going to pop in the butterfly. And the butterfly is going to just help to stir that all together while we get all those flavors in there. We want to set this to 18 minutes on 85 degrees at about speed 1.5. Now that's just going to start stirring. The cinnamon stick is going to find its groove in there around that butterfly. But in 18 minutes, we're going to have quite a runny custard that we're then going to strain out and use it later on once we form up our pastry cases. So what we'll do is we'll come back in 18 minutes to check the custard, and we'll also let that rest, and then we'll bring this all back up together. See you soon. So our custard's been going for 18 minutes, 85 degrees, butterfly in there for 1.5, speed 1.5, and now it's just ready. And what we'll do is we're just gonna take it out of the Thermomix, and we just need to set it aside and let it cool down. That'll give us enough time to make up our pastry and also let that sort of chill in the fridge for a little while. This is absolutely beautiful custard. I love it. And it should be quite runny. So what we'll do is we're just gonna strain out the lemon zest and the cinnamon into there. And we'll just pop that back on there. Give that a little bit of a stir. The lemon zest has done its job. It's just got that beautiful subtle lemon flavor, the cinnamon in there as well. And you should get about 700 mils of the custard. And that's going to be enough to make 24 of the custard tarts. But the beauty of this is that you could have it made up. It'll keep in the fridge for 3 to 4 days. So anytime you want to make some custard tarts on demand, friends coming over, oh, let me whip you up some custard tarts. You just sort of form up your pastry and then pour a little bit of custard into them. In a hot oven, they're gonna take all of 10 minutes to cook up, and you will be a star. What we're going to do is we're just going to put a little bit of plastic wrap over the top so it doesn't form a skin while that cools down. And we'll set this off to the side, and then we'll come back and we'll start laminating our pastry. Now it's time to get to the technique part, and that's getting this pastry buttered up, laminated, so we're gonna get those crispy tarts. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a bit of a close-up shot, so we'll show you exactly close-up how this comes together. So this is the technique now for laminating our pastry for the custard tarts. So here is our dough that we've let sit for 15 minutes. As I said, in the time that it takes to make up the custard, your pastry is rested. And what you want to do is you want to use lots and lots of flour for this. So just get this all dusted up really, really well. And we're going to do 3 laminations. So what we need is 3 lots of some butter. 250 grams of butter separated into 3 lots. So about 80 grams, 80 plus each. And what you want to make sure is that the butter is super, super soft and spreadable. Now what we want to do is we want to roll this out into a square of about 45 to 50 centimeters. Now I know that my cutting board here is about 45 centimeters wide. So we're just going to evenly roll this out, using as much flour as you need to keep it from sticking, so like that. So yeah, keep sort of going over to it, popping some flour on there as needed. And don't be shy with that because you don't want this sticking. But what you also want to do is make sure that you've got that square shape there so that we can fold this over like an envelope. Gently rolling it out, adding flour as you need. Get those sticky points in there. So I know that when I get close to the edge of this, that's going to be about my 45 centimeters. So we'll just square this up here. that. Okay. Once you've got it about squared like that, what we're going to do now is add our butter to it. And we're just going to dust off any of the flour here. And we're just going to add butter to 2/3 of it. So grab your softened butter, get it really smooth, and we're going to spread this on 2/3 of it, leaving a gap up the top and down the bottom of about 2.5 centimeters. So just carefully spread this on. If your butter is not spreadable, it's going to really sort of tear on that dough, and we don't want that. So just make sure that you can spread it with a butter knife or a palette knife. A little bit of a tear there. That's all right. We got another couple of chances at this. Now, once we've got that pretty much covered up, what we want to do is we want to take the left-hand side of this, using your scraper to loosen it up, and we want to fold it over to the middle to cover up 1/3 of it. And then we want to get under this side, and we want to fold this over. There's my rain outside. And get this all into a nice little rectangle. And starting up the top end here, you just want to sort of seal that up, and you now want to just sort of move your fingers along to get any of the air out of it. Loosen this up, and we're going to go lots of flour under here and give it a turn to the left, like that. And now what we want to do is roll it out again. So it is another 45 centimeter square. Now back with our second lot of lamination. Once again, 2/3 of the pastry. Spread that out. Okay. Now, once again, 1/3 of it, we will fold it over like that, and the opposite side, fold it over, 1/3 again. Square that up, seal it up the top, push out any air, and last bit of flour onto both sides for our last bit of lamination and buttering. And once again, we roll it out into our final 45 centimeter square. What I love about this pastry, unlike sort of normal puff pastry, is that we don't need to be chilling the butter each time, every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, popping it in the fridge. I like that this comes together super quick. In the time that you would have rested your puff pastry for one lamination, this is already pretty much done 3 times. So, and it's this layering of butter that's going to give them that classic Portuguese tart crunch that we're going to get once we bake these up. So there we go. So another 45 centimeter square, and this time we're going to butter the whole surface up. So soft, soft, soft butter. Get it worked in there. And this time we want to go right to the edge down the bottom here, leaving a little bit of an edge up the top so we can sort of seal this back up. Okay, now that that's all totally buttered up, we want to start in this edge closest to you, and you just want to start rolling this into a nice tight roll. So just get it started like that, and start rolling it away from you. And you can seal the end up just with a little bit of water if you'd like, or I'm just going to run my fingers along the end to get that sealed up. And that's it. There's our pastry. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into 2 even-sized logs. We'll trim those up later on. So I'm just going to tuck in the little end bits there. And we're just going to cut this in half and wrap it in some plastic wrap. And these will now go into the fridge for about 2 hours to chill out. Now, if you wanted to, what you could do is you could take these like that and pop them into the freezer so that next time you wanted to make up some Portuguese tarts, you just need to fire up some custard and then defrost these overnight in the fridge until they're softened up, and then we'll take it from there. So what we'll do is pop these into the freezer and come back and show you how to make these tarts. Pastry's been chilled in the fridge for a couple of hours, or like I said, you can pop them in the freezer, defrost them overnight, and then bring them out. The custard's cooled down, and now it's a matter of putting these all together. Your oven is as hot as you can possibly get it. So mine, I'm using sort of a conventional heat. It gets up to 280 degrees. In Portugal, they would get up above 300 degrees Celsius. So as hot as you can get it. And what we're looking for is getting that really nice sort of caramelization in the custard that you get with the Portuguese tarts. And so what we'll do is, this is half of what we made up earlier, and just sort of roll it back into a log about an inch thick. And as I said, the recipe, you should get about 24 tarts out of it. So out of half of this, we want to just cut this into 12 even pieces. So we'll go 4, and then each of those into 3 pieces. So about 2 centimeters each. We've got 70 ml muffin trays with 12 holes in them. And what we're going to do is we're going to pop these into the trays and just show you how we shape up the tarts. Okay. And I don't know if you can see this, but you can sort of see that beautiful sort of layers of lamination and stuff that's in there. You probably can't see that, but we've got our muffin tray. You could, now these are non-stick, so you don't need to put any more butter in there. There's plenty of butter in these anyways. And what you want to do is just pop them cut side down into your trays, into the middle of each of those holes. If your pastry is still a little bit cold or chilled in the middle, you could just sort of let those defrost a little bit more, because what we do need is for them to be soft, so we can sort of press them up against the sides of the tins. I'll do half of these now, just to show you. And it's quite easy. All you need is to have a little bit of water on hand for your fingers, so it's going to be easier to mold up. What you want to do is, firstly, get your thumb wet, and into the middle of the roll, you just want to start pressing that down into the bottom of your tray. What we'll do is we'll get them all sort of pressed in like that. Hopefully you can get the gist of it. Once they're pressed into the bottom, we'll use our fingertips to sort of bring them up the side. So once you've got them all sort of pressed into the center of them, now what you want to do is just use your fingertips, and you just want to sort of gently pull them up the side of your tins, just so they're level with the top. And that should be sort of enough pastry for 24 of these tarts, let's say, or 12 in this case. So just using wet fingers, all I'm doing is sort of dragging them up the side, being careful not to go through to the bottom of the tin. And if you do, just sort of patch it up a little bit. So just getting them all up the side there. So there's one lot all done, sort of stretched out. And now all we need to do is take your cool down custard, and you want to fill these about 3/4 of the way full, because they are going to puff up. As I say, this is the creamiest custard, and it takes everything not to just keep taking spoonfuls of the custard before they get into your tarts. Oven is super, super hot as you can get it. 250, 280, 290 preferably. And these are gonna take about 10 to 12 minutes at a really hot temperature, but just keep an eye on them until they've gone all that nice caramelized tops. So 3/4 of the way full. We'll pop these into the oven and we'll see in about 10 minutes while I finish the rest of these. So there you have it, sizzling hot, right out of the oven, bubbling up. You can almost hear that sizzle going on there. Just let them cool a little bit before you take them out. We're gonna sort of slide these out and let them cool down on a baking tray. But seriously, there is nothing better than handmade Portuguese custard tarts or Pastéis de Nata when you've made your own crust. Because as I say, commercial puff pastry just doesn't cut it when you want to get that classic Lisbon Portuguese tart flavor. It's all about that softness and lusciousness from the custard against that crunchy tart base. And to finish it off the proper way is a little bit of cinnamon onto there. I am gonna bite into these. They are hot, but I just want you to hear that crunch. And thank you for watching. If you want the recipe, visit the website, urbanprovider.com.au, which is in the link. And obrigado, thank you. Yum.